Senator Tom Cotton, good morning to you, sir.
Hey, Kevin, it's great to be on with you. I wholeheartedly endorse the findings of that study. I might go a step further and say maybe you're smarter because you eat the ice cream.
It could be. Just go with it.
Make sure you add some birthday cake to that ice cream as well. It only makes it better.
Who am I to fight science? I'm going to go with that. All right, a federal judge granted an injunction against the Department of Labor's overtime rule here, and a statement from your office. This rule would have prohibited Arkansas workers from becoming salaried until they earn more than $47,000, an amount higher than the median income in Arkansas. I look forward to working with the new administration to permanently repeal this rule to protect all Arkansans. First of all, Senator, on the business side here, how would this have hurt businesses, or how would it if it goes through?
Well, Kevin, this is a perfect example of a one-size-fits-all rule dictated by bureaucrats in Washington that simply can't work for, say, Dardanelle and Little Rock, let alone for Arkansas and New York. You have a lot of folks working in Arkansas who have worked their way from hourly wages to a salaried position where they're managing. They're on the track forward to make further promotions and further pay raises. They're proud of the progress they've made. Under this regulation, they would have had to return back to an hourly wage. They oftentimes would have lost responsibility or lost hours because their employer couldn't afford the new compensation scales under this regulation. I can tell all the listeners, Kevin, that I've probably received more contact, whether it's phone calls or visits or letters on this issue over the last 6 months than any other issue we face. And that's from private sector businesses, that's from nonprofits like churches or charitable groups, from universities and colleges, from local government who is going to see its payrolls increase and therefore local taxes go up. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that a judge has given us a reprieve, and I look forward to a chance to revisit this issue in the new year when we can make sure that wage and hour regulations are suited to our local economy, because obviously things are very different in Dardanelle versus Little Rock and certainly different in Arkansas versus New York. I think these things are best handled in our states.
If I'm a worker, I'm saying, hey, Senator, hold on here. I want to get paid. If I work overtime, I want to make my money. Any protection for workers here?
Well, overtime rules are still in place, Kevin, so no one is going to lose their overtime. What would have happened actually is you would have had a lot of people who actually lost hours and therefore lost pay because they were previously in a management role. They were exempt, therefore, from the wage and hour rules, as any manager is, but by having to return back to an hourly status, they would have had to lose hours to stay below the threshold that the Federal Department of Labor dictated. So this is actually bad for many of the workers that the administration was trying to help. That's kind of the story of a lot of modern liberalism. They end up hurting the very people they're trying to help.
Well, this judge has put this on hold for now. The next steps for this in the court system and then in Congress, too?
So we don't know how long it will be on hold. I suspect it will be on hold through the inauguration, and at that point, the Trump Department of Labor can revisit it. Congress can also take action to stop it from going forward. Again, I think what we need to do is provide more flexibility to the states to take account of their own diverse local circumstances. Just a couple of years ago, we in Arkansas passed in a ballot initiative a modest increase in our minimum wage. As a private citizen, I voted for that because I thought the evidence supported that it wouldn't hurt jobs and it would give a few people a boost. Now, what supports a family in Dardanelle, Arkansas is going to be very different from what supports one in San Francisco, California. That's why it's so hard to try to make these decisions in Washington, D.C., and why I support Arkansans making these decisions for themselves.
Senator Tom Cotton, you got a lame duck session of Congress meeting until mid-December. On the Senate agenda, anything there, or will most of the business wait until the president-elect takes office?
Well, there'll be a few items that pass, Kevin. In general, I don't prefer lame ducks because you have so many senators and congressmen who are no longer accountable to their voters, whether they've retired or whether they lost their election. But there is some business that was largely done before the election that just needs to be put to bed, and I suspect will have very large majorities. The annual defense bill, for instance, a spending bill to keep the government functioning until the Trump administration takes place, and then a few odds and ends. I have legislation that passed the Senate unanimously that will come up in the House next week that would allow indigent veterans to be buried in state veteran cemeteries, not just federal cemeteries, at taxpayer expense. That's a problem we've had in Arkansas for many years because our federal cemetery is full. Our state cemetery is not. It's not a grand bill, but for those families who want to visit the graves of their loved ones, it's a pretty important measure, and I'm looking forward to that passing. And there'll be some other smaller measures like that pass as well, Kevin.
Senator Tom Cotton, the toughest question of the morning. Your favorite flavor of ice cream? What do you?
Well, I know this is going to sound boring, and people are going to make fun of me, but vanilla.
That's mine. You can do so much with it.
You can put chocolate sauce on it.
Thank you.
You can have it with ice. You can have it with birthday cake. Just this past weekend, I was having it with my wife's pumpkin pie. It's very versatile.
Oh, it's very nice on the side of a cobbler, too. So, Senator, good to talk to you this morning. Thanks so much.
Bye, Kevin.
747.